Hello, I am James Hunt, part of the Pennacchini family tree, great grandchild of Latina Pennacchini, who's daughter of Raphael Pennacchini Jr. I'm just cobbled this together. I've been very busy in lockdown doing the family tree for the Pennacchinis. It's complicated, but it's good to get something down. There's some descendants who recently contacted me and are interested, and there's never a right time. So I've got 15 minutes, any longer and it won't fit on YouTube. So it's a quick fly through on what I know. So we start with Joseph Pennacchini, and this is just the general tree which you can find on Ancestry. And then we have the two sons, Filippo and Raphael. We don't know whether there are other siblings, and there are reasons for why they came to London. And then there's the link to the Brinsmead family, which are quite famous or well known. Then we have the son Raphael and all his offspring, and then we have the children of Filippo. So there were two sons and three sons, sorry, and a daughter, Virginia. When we look at the family tree, obviously the complication is Raphael with his three wives, Frances, Regina, and Alice, and then all the offspring that have come from those three wives, 15 in total. And there may be more, who knows. And let's not forget Jessie, who's a sister of Raphael. There's mention of Teresina, but I've never found any records for the Teresina anywhere. But I've heard a few anecdotes that need to be explored further. Then we can just see the other children of Raphael, of course, from Francis. They were born in London, and then Regina and Alice in South Africa. And we can see some of the descendants of the grandchildren of Raphael. Quite a few of those are private. Just that's the way Ancestry and other sites work, which means there are quite a lot of descendants that we don't know of in South Africa. And just looking on the internet, the most number of Pennacchinis in the world is in South Africa rather than Italy, so it's a fairly unique name. So to go back to start, Joseph, we can't go back any further than that because of the historical records kept by the church in Rome. They're not digitized for whatever reason, so we can't explore that further and find the wife of Joseph and ancestors before then. But that could be a trip to Rome to find out more. We have Raphael and Filippo. Of course, there may be other siblings. And then we have the descendants here. Now, Raphael and Philippe came across, and it wasn't just simple emigration from Italy. There was a very, very surprising reason for this, and that was because they were involved in what was called the Revolution of Rome. And parts of this in the murder of Pellegrino Rossi, and there are three books here. The one on the left is in digital format on Google Books, and I've translated that through Google Translate, and I've ordered the book on the right there. But really quite a revelation when we went through the translation. We see the number of references here to Raphael and Philippe, and they were an accessory to murder. it would appear. This is the testimony. There were various testimonies in this book, and this chap here, Alessandro Testa, says that the two Pennacchinis were among the killers. And we see these other references here, and I really need to look at the book in a bit more detail. But quite a revelation, and it would be interesting to explore their motives and whether it was a good deed or a bad deed, who knows? But the revolutions that occurred throughout Europe at that time all failed, and that was what led them to coming to London. Now, Brinsmead is mentioned, Susan Brinsmead, and this is a well-known family, so to speak, because they were piano makers. And it was actually Susan's uncle who started the company, and we can see him over here, John Brinsmead, and it was his offspring that carried on the family business. And this is probably what led Susan to migrate from the Cornwall area up to London, and then met Raphael at some point. And then we can look at other parts of the tree here as well. Various trees on Ancestry I think have gone wrong, and I've checked, but Oreste is definitely the son of Filippo rather than Raphael, and there is proof of that in, I think it's the marriage records or the birth records, one of the two. I can't remember. But Oreste, it would seem, produced one of the most significant pieces of work, because many of them are sculptors. But he, around the internet, this is the only really tangible piece of work, and ironically, it's an hour away from me, just south of the border of Scotland in northeast England, of Lady Jerningham at Longridge Towers, presumably carved in marble. I believe it has to be preserved in straw every winter to try and protect it. But I haven't found anything else produced by any of the other sculptures in the family. And we mentioned Jessie Pennacchini, the sister of Raphael. She disappears pretty quickly. She marries Remo Prati, and they disappear off to Italy. And then it would seem that she gave birth to Ada, and unfortunately, I think Jessie died in childbirth. And the story is that Susan Brinsmead went out to collect her, brought her back, and then she was very close to members of the family like Latina. This is the Ada in a few pictures, daughter of Jessie Pennacchini, Alan Hunt, and the story is that Susan Brinsmead, Latina, the grandmother, had to go out to Italy to collect Ada and bring her back. And Ada was the cousin of Raphael's children, of course, and I believe she got on very well with some of the sisters, Latina. And if you look through her profile, you find that in later years she lived with Susan Brinsmead. She married, but unfortunately never had children. And we can just see a picture of her in the wedding of Alan Hunt and Eve Hunt's daughters. Eve Hunt's daughter of Latina Harper. And just to confirm the genetic links, this is the strongest link that I have between myself all the way up to Joseph, and then the descendants. So what I didn't mention there was two of Philippe's sons, Attilius and I forget the other name, Achille. They went to America, and there were a lot of descendants over there, and they changed their name to St. We can see various genetic links throughout America and Canada, including a Reverend Barber in Vancouver. Now, Raphael, I suppose we can thank some of us for all his children and the descendants that came from him and his wives. A quick note on Francis. Francis was an orphan from India, and we presume in the uprisings her parents were killed. That's what we presume. She came across back to Britain 3 years old. We can see that record. She was adopted, and then those parents, adoptive parents, died early. So she had a hard life, and then she became acquainted with Raphael. They had two children that sadly died before they even married, and then various children after that. And she had to suffer Raphael going out to South Africa, and who knows what she knew. And she died relatively young, apparently an infection from a care home. We then see the other children of Alice and Regina, and Alice died relatively young. Again, we don't know how. And then Raphael married again. And we can see his timeline, and we don't have all the I suppose answers in there about his history, but we can see the birth and the death of, say, Vincent there, and Ada, and then his eventual marriage to Francis, and we don't know when he goes to South Africa and when he returns, and how much overlap there is in the marriages, but it would seem that Alice was married at the same time as he was to Francis. And then we see the death of Alice, and then the marriage to Regina, and that was after the death of Francis. He may have been in the UK at that time. And then we see just at the end there, he goes off to New York, presumably to visit relatives in America, and he was accompanied by one of his daughters, I think, another Ada, I think it was, who's registered as a convent. And his gravestone is in Port Elizabeth. So that's a whistle-stop tour of the Pennacchinis, and certainly not much about the descendants. A quick look on Google finds that the Pennacchinis projects in South Africa, in Port Elizabeth. I haven't explored or found any connections or established any communication with Pennacchinis in South Africa. That needs to be explored. I'm sure there's lots of genetics that we can do. A trip to Rome would indeed be something very good, and establishing or exploring the links in America. So a lot of work. I'm happy for anyone to help or progress any of this. I can share my tree, and you can email me at this address.